Welcome back to another episode of the HU Flow podcast presented to you by HU Enrichment. As always, for your host, it's I, Steven, always joined by Marilyn doing our thing. It's episode 32, ladies and gentlemen, of the podcast. So thank you for watching. We appreciate all the support you give us. Now, today on the podcast, we have another member of the Harrisburg University community. His name's Austin. Austin, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to have you on. So, first and foremost, to kind of get the audience to know you a little bit, so tell us what you major in. And if I recall, have you graduated yet? Because I'm not 100% sure yet.
I haven't graduated yet. I'm one semester away from graduating, and
Okay.
I'll be graduating with an applied mathematics degree.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So, tell us a little bit about that degree. What does that entitle?
It encompasses like all the maths that you would need to know in like a 4-year any like physics degree or anything like that, and you do a lot more applications towards it. So for us, this university seemed to specialize a lot in the data science and data analytics world. So I got a lot of experience with that, and it was a really good degree. Yeah, it was just a good degree overall.
Okay, okay. And then the last thing I'll ask before passing on to Maryland to kind of talk about life growing up for you is so on top of majoring in a math major, I'm just gonna go with that because my words are not the best with me right now today. You're a senior, but you're also a member of our storm team. And what game did you primarily play on that team? If you can
I
tell, I love the audience.
I primarily played Overwatch, and I was a DPS player for the Overwatch team.
Right. And then for those at home who don't know what DPS means, it's just the damage dealer, correct?
Yep, just the damage. So I'm like the offensive character, basically.
Awesome. And with that being said, I'll pass it to Maryland. Take it away.
Austin, how about you tell our lovely viewers where are you from?
I'm originally from Cocoa Beach, Florida. So if anyone's unsure where that is, that's near Kennedy Space Center. That's where NASA usually launches most of their rockets.
Honestly, must be nice. I kind of wish I grew up in a beach.
It,
Um,
it was pretty wild. I would surf like every day around there, and I miss it so much. But I guess I traded it for snowboarding last winter.
oh wow, okay, yeah. Do the skills translate there from surfing to snowboarding?
They definitely had a little bit of translation. It was nice that I didn't have to get off my stomach and start doing push-ups to actually start getting going. But I guess I'm a little bit older now and a little bit lazier. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, did you pretty much live your whole life in Florida except for after you moved to college?
um, so yeah, I my majority of my time spent was in Florida, Central Florida and North Florida, basically. I moved around from there a little bit, but not for anything too long.
Pretty cool. So what was high school like for you? Were you always into math in like high school and middle school, or did you see yourself in like another area?
So high school is a weird time for me because I think 10th or ninth grade, probably late ninth grade. I no, it was early 10th grade. I asked to go into these more advanced math classes, and they wouldn't let me. So I asked, how can I do that? And they said that no, you're just stuck in like this like road basically, and you can only take these math classes. And I looked down it, and I wasn't like a very good student at the time, but I wanted to like step up and like actually get into it. And like math was like the one thing that was keeping me going back to school. And I asked them what I could do. They said nothing. So I basically went to the principal and asked if I could just drop out of high school. And from dropping out of high school, I got a GED. I scored basically a perfect score in my math and science on that, and then took an entrance exam to my local community college, and basically got like a half scholarship to my local community college to go there. And so I basically in 10th grade just dropped out and decided to go to community college instead.
Well, that's pretty crazy. Definitely not your average education track.
Yeah.
Um, so you always kind of gravitated towards like the math and science elements of school?
Yeah, I have, and my parents will attest to this too. It's they always tell me about the story where it's like kindergarten or something, and it's like bring your parents to school day, and they like basically told everyone what they did for a living. And I remember at the end, all the parents went, and then they went around the room and asked the kids like, "What do you want to do for a living?" Everyone said like these stereotypical things like firefighter, nurse, doctor, stuff like that. And then when they finally got to me, I just said I want to do math. And to this day, they always harp me about saying that.
That sounds pretty right for how I know you, but the question that I feel like it's definitely on my mind, but I hope it's on everyone else's mind too, is what do you do with a math degree? Like, what do you plan on doing with your education?
um, so currently, I'm a, a junior data science for this company. And what we're doing right now is taking this data and making models of it. So, like machine learning models, deep learning models, and outputting something that we can basically give to the government. So, basically, if you have a math degree, there's like two ways that you can go about it. You can become more of an academic where you do research, so you learn more math. So basically, you go to school to learn more math, basically as a career. Or the second one being kind of like an engineer kind of thing, or yeah, basically an engineer where you go out and start applying this math that you learned. Or I was looking at a job in Hawaii working for these telescopes, and I was considering that job. But basically, there's a whole entire world out there where they're looking for people who understand the language.
Very cool, and I think very tailored to you as well. My last question before I pass it back over to Stephen is, you're in community college, you're studying math. Um, could you walk us through the process of how you came to study at Hertford University?
So I got associate's degree at my community college, which in Florida is like a 2-year degree. And usually with that 2-year degree, you can go on into like a state college. I went to UF for a little bit, University of Florida, go Gators. And um, I was there for a while. Schooling was kind of fun there at a state college. I didn't really click too much, so I kind of dropped out of that and then like basically worked freelance around the country for companies whoever just needed a coder. And this was pre-COVID. And pre-COVID, like the freelance market was like so open, like no one, everyone wanted to just work in an office for some reason. And now everyone doesn't want to work in an office, so freelancing's like got a lot harder. But freelancing back then was so easy that they didn't care that I was just like some like 16, 17-year-old, no high school education, barely a college education, working for them and just helping them out where I can. While I was working, kind of, I think Jason's the one that told me about it. And I was playing Overwatch at the time as like a hobby, just like how you would like after work go and maybe play some basketball for an hour or two after your work. And that's kind of what I was doing. I was doing it in the amateur scene. Jason told me about it, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds kind of cool. I guess I'll just try out." I didn't really expect to make it or anything, but I just gave it a shot because I was like, "Why not?" And I got the offer, and I was kind of just thinking, I was like, "Well, I can continue working for a while, or I can try to finish my education and see where that takes me."
So pretty cool. So would you say that it was like networking that kind of got you to HU? Like, how did you meet
Oh yeah.
Jason?
Um, I met Jason through one of the amateur teams. I I basically created an amateur team and we made it pretty good. We are going up against like pro teams and tournaments. We took matches off a lot of teams back in the day that were basically like the Al rosters, and from there our team kind of like separated. We slowly like drifted apart, but I always just stayed in touch with Jason, and Jason told me about the opportunity, and I just followed along.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So back over to Stephen.
Okay, so you learned from Jason about the opportunity and you came to Harrisburg University to do your thing here on our team. Now, let's first, before we hop into the esports aspect of it, let's talk about education aspect. So, what was kind of your experience like? Because you're from Florida, so you moved from one state to another. How was that transition coming from Florida all the way to Pennsylvania for you?
Well, I still have that Florida band every now and then. So, I'm coming up here and maybe being a little bit too wild for people around me. It has been a really weird transition. I remember when I came up here, I was like 22 or something. I remember still getting laughed at to this day when I walked into a Walmart and asked where their beer section was. And the beer laws here are kind of a lot weirder than what I'm used to. Um, Definitely living in the city has acquired some taste, like being able to walk around to wherever I need. Like Florida, I'd have to like drive somewhere if I want to go do something, but in the city, I'm walking distance for some pretty good entertainment. Um, and then like I said, snowboarding versus surfing. So
Right. So like, so what's the beer laws in Florida? Because is it a lower requirement or something? Because I'm not
yeah,
familiar with it.
it's a lot lower requirement where I can go into like any gas station, they'll sell me beer. Um, I don't know. If I go into a gas station, I could buy like any quantity amount of beer
Hmm.
without having to like do the trip back and forth to the car. Um,
Okay.
and then I haven't seen one here yet, so I don't know if they exist, but there's also like beer and liquor stores where you can buy liquor and beer at the same place. Where it seems like here there's only like beer distributors and liquor stores.
There is. It's just not in Harrisburg. I know that for
Uh,
sure. Yeah.
okay,
Because there,
okay.
yeah, I must say, I know, I've seen some in like Lancaster, Philadelphia for sure. Um, but definitely around here is probably just like if you want beer, you only go at the beer place. If you want liquor, you want a liquor place. So okay, I
Yeah.
was like, that makes sense. But okay, so you had kind of a change, which I expected. Because I mean, like, I guess especially when it comes to the beer laws here. So on the education side, how was like how was that transition to kind of being a HU student treating you?
Um, so the biggest thing I saw from basically my experience with school, going from UF, which is like a huge state college, to coming to Harrisburg. Um, with Harrisburg, the classes were a lot smaller, so there was a lot more personal time with the teachers. Most of my math professors, I got a really good bond with them, and like I would talk with them after school about like whatever I was reading or whatever I was trying to do. But with like a state college like UF, you're just one out of like 80 to 90 people in that classroom. The teacher doesn't even know your name. And that was the hugest thing that I saw when I come into Harrisburg was just the class size and how much of a difference it makes with like your relationship with your teacher.
Yeah, I think that's why probably one of our shining examples of our school. Like our class sizes are very small compared to major schools. Um, and I think that's a good thing, just so you can build a relationship with your teachers. You know, they can help you farther like after you graduate too with job opportunities. You may never know. So I think that's really dope that you highlighted that. So now jumping into the esports part of it. Now, like you said, Jason kind of told you about the opportunity. You got accepted. Now you're on the team. So now, tell me. Now, I've talked to Jason about it because I wanted to learn more about the aspect of being on a team. But how important is having a good team dynamic in order to like really go far in college esports?
Um, it it's actually in college esports, I think it's one of the biggest things because we've seen rosters out there like these six-man people. They're like the best in individual roles, but together they kind of just hated each other and they wouldn't work together. And we played against them and we're like surprised how bad they're doing. And we later to learn out like there's just like drama going on, stuff like that. And basically you're just only like the saying goes, you're only as strong as like your weakest link, basically. And if you don't have that like bond going on where everyone enjoys playing the game with each other, then you're just not going to be playing the game very well.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. I mean, look, if everyone's not vibing together, you're all gonna fall. So, my next thing is, well, what team during your tenure as a esports player during your time here has been like the biggest challenge for you guys? If you had to think of like one team was like, okay, this team, they were a challenge, but we managed them, you know.
Um, I say our biggest rival is Maryville when it comes to Overwatch. I can't speak so much for League of Legends. But
Right.
Overwatch, like Maryville and us have always just been kind of rivals, and we always like look at the counter, circle future dates and when we would play them, just to prepare for them and stuff like that. Then that goes all the way back to like at least my first semester, where, and I think one semester before me, where we were the only two teams that were basically competitive, and every time it would just be like they're on one side of the bracket, we're on the other, and it's just like, okay, it's just HU versus Maryville waiting room in the finals, and that's literally the finals.
I mean, yeah, I'm about to say the Hugh before. I think the Hugh Invitationals were always the finals between HU and Maryville. Usually in both games. I think the one year wasn't,
Yeah,
but it was always like you guys in the finals, and then Maryville will somehow still beat us, and it's like, we made them work for it at least. But when it
yeah.
came to
The
like the
Overwatch
regionals,
team, the Overwatch team. I'm sorry to interrupt, but the
no,
Overwatch
you're good.
team's like cursed right now for the Hue. We can always make it the finals, but we can just never close it out.
Wait, yeah, I was about that. That was the kind of leads to my next question. What's up with you guys in the Hugh Invitationals, man? It's always like the first year happened finals. We lost in like overtime, I think,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
the
yeah.
next one was like what? Freaking, we got swept, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, we could beat these guys because we beat
Yeah.
them like in back because we're talking about Houston. You beat them in the semis, so you can win to go to the grand finals, and you easily won that. So, like, they just got some ice on you guys or something?
I think it's just because like right now everyone's on a break, so we're not practicing too much. So usually we come back and like we probably get like a month or a month and a half to practice before Hughes. So, but we haven't really gotten that time to actually like click together yet.
Gotcha. Because what? Because like it's Hughes the preseason for you guys essentially, right?
Hughes basically like our semester. Like it usually goes so we're was it fall? Our next semester is fall, so we'll be doing Q, and then we'll be doing like preseason like collegiate stuff, and then next semester will be like the finals stuff that like the equivalency to that Houston match.
All right. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, cause I'm like, look, this year I need y'all to win Hugh though. Maryville is trash. Let's just keep them out of the dart. Both games. I'm not just talking about. I don't know about Rocket League, but like, look, I don't know because I don't know if they got a rock. I don't know if Maryville has a Rocket League team, but like Overwatch and League, we got to cook them. Come on, I know you guys got it. We've done it before.
Hey, the
Um,
Rocket League sounds pretty exciting now. I'm looking forward to that. I'm an avid Rocket League fan.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of it myself. And just for anyone at home, if you don't know what we're talking about, recently Harrisburg University added a Rocket League portion to their esports roster. So be on the lookout for our team when we come crush your team. You know, just saying. But my last question I'll ask before passing to Marilyn is, so with esports, it seemed like for you, it wasn't like something you were like honored you to doing since because you want to do more math. So how did kind of in a way esports fluctuate with the current passion? Did it kind of make it a conflict of interest, or is like, I'm just gonna do and see what happens with it?
Um, it was kind of just like a full send kind of thing where it's just I was at a crossroad basically where I continue my career or I can go back to school for basically free because we're on a full ride scholarship. So I was at that crossroad and I kind of just weighed my options and I was just like, I guess with all the freelance stuff I'm doing right now, I could do it still in school during my free time, stuff like that. So there's really I couldn't think of too many cons of just going back to school on a full ride scholarship. And it obviously just sounded fun to like be in that flagship program that Harrisburg was putting out for their esports program.
Hey, that makes sense, man. I like it. I like it. And I pass it back to Marilyn.
Flagship Overwatch champion.
Yep, we
And
two in a row.
does seem pretty cool to get the reins on. All right, so Austin, you are technically graduating, I guess next year, but you're
Yeah.
done at the end of this semester. Um, are you excited?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. All this time I'm putting into school, I'm kind of looking forward to taking a little breath and then continuing my career, and then probably going to look at some master schools here and there.
Yes, so what are next steps for you? Because you're currently working. You did mention taking a little breath, and where are you looking to go with like a master's degree?
I have no idea right now, to be honest, with master's degree. I'm still thinking about it. I'm on the fence whether or not I want to do it. Um, just right now, looking to just you know, not have free weekends because I don't have to like cram homework or cram study. Just that'll be some nice time right there.
So, well, I did want to ask you, um, for those who might also be interested in doing what you're doing with analytics and development, um, I was sitting here thinking as we were talking about it, because I do analytics, but not in the same way that you do. And I have another friend who does analytics, but more from a computer science element. So for people who are looking to do analytics in the more mathematical focused way that you approach it, what advice do you have for maybe high school students, people in college already who are looking to do that? Do you have any advice for them um, based on the path that you've taken?
Um, my advice, if I had to go back and do it all over again, was I would pick up this website. It's called Kaggle. So what Kaggle is, it just hosts a bunch of data sets on random things. It's user submitted data sets. So but what's really fun about it is that companies go on there and they host competitions on, like, let's say, a simple one just being, I think up there is like the digit menace, basically, which is just a data set full of zeros or digits 0 to 9. And your goal is just to take this image and predict whether or not what number it is, or what letter, or what number it is. So you'll get a picture of a zero up there, and you need to write something that says it's a zero. So with those competitions, that's really kind of what got me interested in it, because I could try my hand at these competitions and see how well I do. And they score you on a percentage, and there's leaderboards. You can see how well you're doing versus everyone else. And if you just don't want to do it and you just want to read more about maybe this competition, people post like these forums and they'll explain like line by line of their code, line by line of like their decision making on what they did, and give you a more like robust understanding of like data science as like a whole.
That is super cool. So is that spelled Kaggle?
Kaggle, yeah.
Very cool. So if you're someone who's looking to get more into what Austin's currently doing in like analytics and mathematics, definitely take a check. Definitely check that out. Take a check at that because that seems really neat. I'm gonna look at it. Just because there's always more that you can learn. And yeah, I don't have any other questions. Steven, do you have any other follow-up questions?
Well, I think I have one more question. Also mentioning for the link that Austin described, be sure to check out the link down below. We will have it there. So if you need some help with some math and learn more, check it out down below in the description. Also, same thing with Spotify as well. My last question I'm gonna ask you, Austin, is a similar question I asked Jason last week. Favorite moment you've had in your career? If you then list one, what is it?
In like esports or just overall?
In esports, what's the favorite moment you've had during your career in esports?
Um, I would have to say, I would probably have to say the first semester that we did where we went to Houston. That was probably top one. And if it's not, I think we went to Ohio, like a theme park, and we did an event inside the theme park, which was kind of cool. So we basically had like a bunch of foot traffic from people who were at, I think it's called the Kings Island in Ohio or something. Um, and we did that there, and there's just like a ton of people in the stands just watching us play Overwatch, and that was pretty fun.
All right, Austin, thank you so much for coming on the pod today to talk about your career, how you became an HU soon-to-be alum and an Overwatch champion. If you guys want to check out any of our other episodes or stay tuned for future episodes, you can subscribe down below. Also, check out the Spotify link and Kaggle that Austin was talking about. So, as always, I'm Marilyn. That's Steven. Today you heard from Austin. Have a good rest of your day and see you guys later.